Welcome to the Show Up Show, where we bring you everything you need to emerge as a powerful and healthy leader in your life, business, and relationships. Because how you show up in one area of life is how you show up in all of them. I'm your host, Debbie Pace, author of The Journal to Freedom, a foundational guide to help you examine your beliefs and how they shape your patterns and behaviors in life, so you can transform what's not working and can show up like a boss in every area of your life. Brad Malin had his sights set for a career as an NFL kicker, but after several injuries, he had to reinvent himself to create a completely different legacy. How did a career athlete turn his game day competitive nature into a successful business helping out some furry friends? Tune in now to find out.
My name is Brad Malin. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Companion CBD.
So can you explain the word CBD? Obviously, everyone knows what that is, or at least familiar with it at this point. But Companion CBD is not just a typical CBD company. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Correct. We are the first and only veterinarian-owned CBD manufacturer in veterinary medicine. So that's a big deal because most people that are in this space have their products made and white labeled, as you call it, and not a lot of science and specific and education behind it. So that's kind of how we really differentiate as a physician-owned company that educates veterinarians and pet owners worldwide.
So everyone has a story about how they've come across CBD or what made them a supporter of CBD. So tell us how you got into this space, Brad. That's
a great question, and it's a heck of a story. So in a prior life, I was an athlete, and I came across CBD 5 years ago, and I had many injuries and surgeries, unfortunately. And I was at the point where I was on my 7th spine surgery, and a friend of mine said, hey, you need to take a look at this product. And interestingly enough, they're looking for someone to run their company, and you're highly qualified. So long story short, I got the product, I took the product, and within 3 days, I felt something working. And I was like, there's something to this. I knew it wasn't going to cure me or heal me, but I was looking to reduce anxiety. I was looking to reduce inflammation. And most importantly, I was looking to reduce pain. And that was a huge issue, being in chronic pain for 25 some odd years. And sleep, I couldn't sleep. Sleeping was very difficult for me. So after 3-4 days, I noticed that I was sleeping more. My anxiety levels were less, and my pain went down probably 20-25%, which is a huge number when you're in a significant amount of pain.
Right.
So I ended up contacting the company and was really blown away, and I wanted to know what was all in it. And you know, based on my background, which is medical device distribution for 25 years, I told them, I can get your product out there. And long story short, again, they hired me. I ran the company for 8 months, and then decided that due to some of the challenges working with them and them not allowing me to do what I know how to do, I resigned and created Companion CBD on my own.
Wonderful. So Companion CBD is for pets.
Correct.
Pets and people are different. We respond differently. So how long did it take you to get from, I want to do this, to I want to do this for pets, to we have an amazing product, let's get it out there? Tell us about that process.
Another great question. And it might sound a little weird because I was like, well, I was taking it, but then we started a pet company.
Exactly.
Yes. So let me clear that up. So basically, when I decided to put together a business plan and take this to the pet community, I've dealt with the pet world with my medical device distribution company, and I know veterinarians, and a friend of mine is a veterinarian who is now my business partner and co-founder. And I went to him to get his feedback, and I said, what do you know about CBD in pets? How effective is it? What's out there? Help me understand. And he said, well, yeah, it's absolutely effective. It's more effective in animals because of the way the animals' body makeup is and the receptor profiles. They have more of them. So it's definitely going to work in animals just as good, if not better, than in humans. So we collaborated and we put the company together. I created the idea. I went to him to get his expertise, and I said, let's make a run at this. And he said, absolutely. So that's how the whole vision came together about 3 years ago. We've been selling product for 2 years.
So it's still a very young company by all parameters. So one of the things that we really like to talk about on the Show Up Show is what have been some of the barriers, some of the obstacles, not just in the business, but in your own life that you really had to find something deep within to keep going, to overcome something. Do you have any stories like that?
How much time do you have? Yes. And as a serial entrepreneur, I've had 3 other startups, and I've been in the entrepreneurial space for 25 years. So yes, as you know, as an entrepreneur, the trials and tribulations are vast. And I would say the biggest one initially with this was the fact that to do things right takes a lot of capital to put it in play. So raising seed money, we have investors, we're still raising money. It's a huge task. It's a lot of responsibility of a lot of people relying on you to put together the right business model and of course, have a great return on their investment. So that's stressful in itself. I would say the other kind of the biggest hurdle that we have been facing as a company and as the industry has evolved so quickly is regulatory. That being said, CBD in 2018, it was called the Farm Bill Act of 2018, where hemp-derived products were descheduled off the controlled substance list. So CBD is legal across the United States. Now, on the pet side, interestingly enough, you cannot sell CBD in the state of California through a veterinarian, that is. Online and through other retail, yes, you can. So state law essentially supersedes federal law in this situation. In the near future, the FDA they're in the process of regulating it. So since it's not regulated in the vet industry, currently there are veterinarians who are reluctant to retail it, discuss it, due to they fear they could lose their license and things of that nature, which is not true, but there's some ambiguity there as well. So that kind of hurt us in the beginning because there's just so much misinformation in a space that is growing upon leaps and bounds.
So how do you get into this space? And I think that this is a helpful question for people who are coaches, people who say, well, there's so many of us. How do we differentiate ourselves? When you got into this space, obviously pets is a niche, and then you have to go to other places as well to differentiate yourself, especially when you have so much ambiguity from state versus federal law, and you really have to have your stuff together. You have to really know what you're doing. But how do you overcome those things? How do you really differentiate and market yourself in a way that says we are the one, we are the best?
First things first, as I said, we're the only veterinarian-owned company that is actually the manufacturer. And there's a key other little, buzzwords I'll throw in there that are really important. Our product is a human-made product. So I can tell you I've eaten hundreds of them to prove to people that they are. It's human-grade food. Our products are made in an FDA GMP compliant facility that's also certified by the National Animal Supplement Council. What does all that mean? It means a lot. In the veterinary space, it means credibility. It means we've gone above and beyond like this was a pharmaceutical type of product. Even though it's not, it's still considered an off-the-shelf product, but we're treating it as such, as we're essentially run like a pharmaceutical company, and we go again above and beyond through the manufacturing process. So marketing that is a huge deal. We marketed directly to veterinarian hospitals across the United States and global. We've gone to many conferences, veterinary conferences, our first year in business. And the number one most important aspect of what we do and what we do first is, bar none, education. Mm-hmm. And this is where my partner comes in, Dr. Josh Sosnow, who's been a board certified veterinarian of 20 years. He has 2 practices here in Phoenix and Scottsdale. And he took it upon himself to create a nationally accredited continuing education program for veterinarians and staff. We marketed this first through PR and through lots of different means and, of course, money to get it out there, because veterinarians aren't taught this information in vet school. So that being said, we were the first to create this nationally recognized continuing education programs that well over 10,000 veterinarians and staff were trained by us. So again, credibility, understanding the marketplace, how CBD can be effective in clinical practice, what conditions, the legalities, the safeties, the efficacies, it goes on and on.
Yeah.
Really pride ourselves on that.
So behind every business owner is a personal story and their why. So a lot of entrepreneurs have this inner desire, something that's driving them. Can you share a little bit with our listeners? What is your why? Why are you doing this? And why is it so important to you to make an impact like this?
My why? That's really easy. I do it for my kids. I'm a single dad. I have 2 teenage daughters. I was very fortunate and blessed to be raised in a great environment that my parents gave me. As I mentioned, I was a former athlete. I'm uber competitive in anything and everything that I do. I do not like to lose. And I want to give my kids the best because I had a great upbringing, and I'm trying to do the same for them, which I've been blessed to do that. So that's the ultimate why. And just to, create freedom too. I mean, let's face it, money's great. We all love money because it does a lot of things. But however, it's not always about the money. It's about the freedom. So as a single father, I can show up to their games, their practices, and take them to their tutors and cook dinner and just be that really good parent. Even though there's only one of me, yes, it's not easy, but I have the ability to be around and not be on the road, traveling, working for a big company, being a product of that. So I'm grateful for the fact that I can do what I want to do when I want to do it.
That's a great why. And I think most people's hearts just melted because we know how difficult. I mean, I definitely have my husband here, and I know how difficult it can be to raise any gender of child. But I think when you're a single father and trying to raise daughters, because I have friends who similar situation, single father, 2 girls. And I always look in awe of how when we're put up against these circumstances, we thrive. We find what we need and we manage to succeed. And I think it's interesting that you have the competitive athlete background to support that too. So I'm very interested. What is your athletic background?
So I was a soccer player. I started playing soccer before I could walk. And so I played soccer at a very high level up to right around 1920. Played all over the world and trained all over and had some phenomenal opportunities. And then recognized that I was a good soccer player, but I wasn't quite good enough to be on that huge stage that I wanted. So I started kicking football as a place kicker. And the fame and the notoriety of an NFL kicker versus a semi-pro kind of soccer player was a little bit more appealing. And I had opportunities to do that. And unfortunately, as I mentioned, 7 back surgeries later, I finally had to give it up. And I with my competitive nature, it was a dream of mine to be a professional athlete. It was always soccer's my passion and always was, but football came in, and I was blessed that I was able to kick that ball pretty well, due to some unfortunate injuries that just, I had to hang it up. And, that whole competitive side of me just drives me every day of what I do.
How far did you get as a kicker?
I had some opportunities for free agent tryouts in the NFL. And I moved out to Scottsdale, Arizona to train to get myself back in shape after surgery number, I think it was 3. And I just couldn't pass my physical. I had the ability to kick the ball and kick the ball well, but one hit the wrong way could potentially have put me in a wheelchair. And that was hard to swallow. So that's ultimately what made me realize, okay, there's more to life beyond, athletics.
And that's a real process too, Brad, because when you spend your whole life being an athlete and then you went from soccer to, football, this is it. I can make this, I can do this. So many people get stuck in that place between I thought I was going to be and now I can no longer. And I think that there's a story in there for our listeners. I can feel it. How did you get yourself? Because some people would just stay stuck. I mean, I remember watching Married with Children, and his big thing was he played high school football, remember? And he didn't mentally move past it, right? So he got stuck there. How did you keep yourself from getting stuck there? And how did you get momentum to move into a new direction?
It was really difficult. I felt like a failure, and I knew I had to move on, obviously. It took me probably 2 years to really swallow. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go get a job.
Like the JOB word? Shut up.
Yeah, exactly. And I was, my father was an entrepreneur, and he was always around and at every practice and game. And that's kind of, how I was born into it. So I said to myself, I was like, all right, I got to figure this out. And the person that was training me introduced me to somebody who was in the medical device field. And he's like, you should go talk to this guy. He could give you a lot of insight, and maybe he'll hire you. And that's how I got in the medical device world, because it's a very competitive world to get into.
Right.
I knew I wanted to get involved with sports and medicine because A, I was always injured. So I knew a lot about injuries and rehab. And B, I'm just super passionate about sports. And I ended up getting an opportunity to get in medical device early on, and in sports medicine. In surgery, rehab, or actually selling the implants to repair shoulder repair and ACL injuries of knees and things like that. So once I accepted the fact that my athletic days are over, I was like, this isn't so bad, because I'm dealing with athletes of all kinds, from kids to college to pros, and physicians who are relying on me to help them repair their patients.
It's a beautiful shift, because to be able to go from being the injured to being the one whose story is over here, to then shifting into a role of being able to help other people and being able to be the solution for them. It must have really filled some place in your heart that needed that pull to help get you out of that place of being stuck in the story of what I should have done or what I could have done, and if only this had happened kind of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, it just, again, I was dealing with orthopedic surgeons initially, and specifically sports med guys. So that being said, I was around sports a lot, and I was working with, the team physicians, excuse me, of the local, in Arizona, the Arizona Cardinals and the Coyotes hockey team and the Diamondbacks. So I was still around and in that sports environment, which definitely was fantastic. And I knew I needed to stay in it, because it helped me heal.
Yeah.
Going through the healing process of like, holy heck, I'm not an athlete anymore. It was definitely humbling, but it really helped propel me into being in the medical device space and being an entrepreneur for, the past 25 years.
And I completely get what you're saying, because I was sort of a weekend athlete and triathlete, and I ended up having 2 little arthroscopies, which ended up completely ending my volleyball career, and which wasn't a career, by the way. I'm 5'2", so there's no real, I'm 5'2", it's not a career, okay? It's a weekend thing. Well, I can tell you that I excelled in my 20s, and this is not that day. So but it's interesting, because we get to this place from, there's this mentality that really high competitive achievers get to, where we're driven. And then when something takes us out of our game, it causes this complete shift in our perception of who we are, why we're here, and what we're here to do. And I went through this in my own life starting in 2016. is when I injured myself. But my injury was dumb. It was a workout video that I went fully in day 5. I ended up tearing my meniscus and they couldn't figure out what it was because it wasn't showing up on the MRI. Yeah. So a bunch of surgeries, clip things that I actually did need, but they thought I didn't need. And yeah, so it was this whole big couple years later, couple surgeries later, and you dig deep. You have to dig really deep. We graze over, it took about 2 years, but honestly, those were like 2 years of hell, really. Like just
no doubt.
Really, and it's funny because my time frame was right around 2 years as well, and I don't do psychology of sports injuries or anything like that, but I'm wondering if there isn't something to that. There isn't some normal time frame of sort of mourning what was and really refinding and finding that strength again at a different place, because it's not just mentally, it's physically. It's you can't just go out there like you used to and do the things that you used to, and I can't just go doing cartwheels with my kids in the yard now. It's like, okay, I have to, can my body actually right now support me in this? You have to just think a little bit now. You can't go out there and be the 12-year-old anymore. So it's a whole big shift, but I think it's also valuable in the entrepreneur journey, because what kind of flexibility, reinvention, really pulling power within do we have to, it's no longer the physical strength, it's the emotional strength. So how has that really helped you so far on your own journey?
I think the fact that knowing what I do currently with animals, I've always been passionate about animals, and we've had a phenomenal success with our product lines. They're very effective. We have testimonials out the yin yang that validates that we have a product that really is extraordinary. And knowing the feedback that we get from all of our customer base, it's awesome, because there's some severe conditions that some animals have had that start taking our products, that we prolong their lives. We make their lives, better and longer.
So I have to ask you a question, because I'm sitting here thinking, I have a golden retriever and I've heard of CBD, and actually, quite honestly, have given my dog CBD chews for anxiety if we have to leave her with someone. The Goldens just have so much, they're such deep-hearted dogs, and they take everything in. So, but she also had a little bit of a fall a few years ago, and her hips are not the same. So is the CBD, because I think this is a really important question. We've heard so much about anxiety and how it helps with the brain and stuff like that, but you're talking about the pain aspect. So for pets who are really dealing with a type of pain, like especially dogs and hip pain, what kind of results have they gotten with the Companion CBD? The
results have been fantastic. And one of my favorite phrases in life is documentation beats conversation. Mm-hmm. If you go onto our website, companioncbd.com, you'll see testimonials, video testimonials, and regular text testimonials. Same thing on our Facebook page. So I can tell you all day long that I have the greatest product, but if I can't back it, who am I trying to kid, right? So to answer your question, yes. By the way, I have 2 golden doodles. So they're basically the same thing as a golden retriever, except a little curlier, right? So I know exactly their demeanor and what you're talking about. And yes, CBD has been clinically shown. There's studies, and we've done studies that legitimize the efficacy, that it does work, especially for osteoarthritis, joint mobility, and pain. Okay. There's many other conditions that CBD can help manage. And when I say manage, I'm not saying we're here to try to treat, cure, diagnose anyone, because those are bad words by the FDA.
Yes.
We always say we're here to help manage your pet's conditions, well-being, and it can be a multitude of conditions. But that being said, with pain and CBD, is its main, attribute is it reduces inflammation in the body, in the human body and the pet's body. So they work the same. CBD is a compound which obviously comes from the cannabis plant. The CBD that we utilize has 0 THC in it. Some products have some amounts of, trace amounts of THC, which can be very toxic to animals. We don't go there for a lot of reasons, but most importantly, it's all about the dosing. It's all about understanding the condition of the pet, the size of the pet, and the dosing strategies. Because if you don't have the right dosing strategies, it's not going to work. And that's where we really come into play and how we really set ourselves apart from the other companies out there selling product.
So what's really awesome, Brad, about your story and about what you're doing is you've taken the same level of being all in on the field, and you've taken it to the pet CBD market where it's not enough just to have the business. It's really about being the best in the business for you and really bringing the best product and making sure it's safe. You know, the big phrase on the Show Up Show is how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so as a dad, as an athlete, as a business owner, you just really are bringing your game to everything. And it's such a true inspiration to hear your story, to be able to share the story with you and with the listeners. So I'm sure there's people who are going to want to learn more about you and really follow the journey and help the company grow and really look at how they can use this product for their own pets. So the best way that they can reach you is your website, correct?
Absolutely. And I appreciate all your kind words, and you're spot on. We're trying to make everything perfect, not perfect, but, transparent, and educating the masses and putting together, as I call it, the Bentley of CBD products. It's the best of the best. It's kind of like Nordstrom's, right?
Yeah.
Or I even correlate it to Discount Tire. Those are two companies that I love because they provide great customer service in their product. And that's kind of how we want to be known as. And to find out information, education, and you can go to our website, companioncbd.com. We have a feature on our website. It's called Ask a Vet. You click on Ask a Vet, you can fill out some information, and we have a team of board certified vets, and we can set up a call, a Skype, it can be text or email, and you can ask questions about your pet and how CBD can potentially benefit your pet's well-being, and that's free of charge. And we field a lot of calls every day because there's just so much misinformation out there.
Excellent. So is there any special feature for our listeners today by going to the website? Is there anything that you'd like to offer?
Absolutely. We would love to offer a 20% discount off of the retail price on the website. That we'll provide for all of your listeners. And, but again, please let all the listeners know that if they're still unsure and uncertain, that's great. That's why we do what we do. So just click on that Ask a Vet feature. We'll get in touch with you and we'll give you enough information to make an educated decision whether or not CBD could be right for your pet.
Thank you so much, Brad. It's an honor chatting with you today, and I'm sure that we're gonna learn so much more, and Companion CBD is gonna become a household name. If you like what you're hearing on the Show Up Show, be sure to subscribe. And if you really, really, really like it, please leave a 5-star review. If you'd like to connect with the Show Up Show on social media, you can find us on Facebook at the Show Up Show Podcast or on Twitter at the Show Up Show. Let's be sure to connect over on the other side. Thanks for listening.